Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to get started with topic 11. We are in lesson 1, modeling addition of fractions. This is going to be in your volume 2 book, and we are on page 557. Let's go ahead and turn, and let's go ahead and start with the video.
How can you use fraction strips to add fractions? Fraction strips are a good way to make equations simple. Think about this during the lesson.
Fraction strips are a good way to make equations simple.
10 canoeing teams are racing down river. 5 teams have silver canoes.
10 canoeing teams are racing down river.
Canoes.
5
what
teams
fraction
have
of the
silver
canoes are either
and
silver
2 teams
or brown?
have brown canoes.
Either is
What
a very
fraction of the
important word in
canoes
that last
are either
sentence.
silver or brown?
Either is a very important
What
word
is
in that
another
last
way
sentence.
to ask what fraction of the canoes are either silver or
What
brown?
is another way to ask what fraction of the canoes are either
How many
silver or
canoes
brown?
are either silver or brown?
How many canoes are either silver or brown?
What operation can be used to find the fraction of canoes that are either silver or brown?
What operation can be used to find the fraction of canoes that are either
Add the
silver
fraction
or
of the
brown?
total canoes that are silver to the fraction of the total canoes that are
Add the
brown.
fraction of the total canoes that are silver
A model
to
can
the
be
fraction
used
of the
to
total
add
canoes
2
that
or
are brown.
more fractions.
A model can be
Use
used
a model.
to add 2 or more
5/10
fractions.
of the canoes are silver, and 2/10
Use
of
a
the canoes
model.
are brown.
5/10 of the
Use
canoes
5
are silver,
1/10 strips
and
to show
2/10 of the
5/10,
canoes are brown.
and 2 1/10
Use
strips
5
to show
1/10 strips
2/10.
to show 5/10, and 2
How do you know that
1/10
the
strips
common
to show
denominator is 10?
2/10. How do you know that the common denominator is 10?
10 is the common denominator because there are 10 total canoes.
10 is the common
7
denominator
1/10
because there
strips
are
are
10
needed.
total canoes.
How should you
7
write the
1/10
fractions for the
strips are
silver and
needed.
brown canoes to find the total?
How should you write the fractions for the silver and brown canoes to find the total?
Add the numerators. Write the sum over the like denominators.
Add the numerators.
7
Write
out of
the
10,
sum
or
over the like
7/10 of the
denominators.
total canoes are either silver or brown.
7 out of 10, or 7/10
You
of the
have
total
used fraction
canoes are
strips
either
to add
silver or
fractions.
brown. You have used fraction strips to add fractions.
So let me go ahead and go into my good notes, and we're going to go ahead and go to the next page, which will be page 558. And what they just did right now, it's right here in the video. So if you need to go back and review it, it's going to be on page 558. So we're going to start with the practice on page 559. And I'm at the top where it says in 1 through 6, use objects such as fraction strips to add the fractions. Simplify if possible. Simplify means to make smaller. So we're going to start with number 1. 1/3 plus 1/3. They want me to use the fraction strips. If you notice, 1/3 is the piece that is already on the fraction strip. They want me to add 1/3. So they want me to bring another 1/3 and add it here. So when we're adding the fractions, we always ask ourselves, are the denominators the same? Yes. So remember that the denominator stays the same. Numerator 1 plus numerator 2, that means 2. So my sum is going to be 2/3. Number 2. 2/5. If you notice, there's already 2/5 on there on the strip diagram. They want me to add 1/5. How many 1/5 would that be? 1, 2, 3. 3/5. So my sum is 3/5. Question number 3. 1/4 plus 2/4. We don't have a strip diagram, but we can draw one. So we would have a whole. Notice that our denominator says fourths, so we're going to be adding fourths. So it's going to be 1/4, 1/4. And they want me to add 2/4. So 1/4, 1/4. How many fourths do we have? 1, 2, 3. So my sum is 3/4. I'm going to do the next one without the strip diagram, just by using my fractions. Denominator 6, so it stays the same. I am adding 2 plus 2 equals to 4. Same thing for number 5. Denominator stays the same. 1 plus 1 is 2. Number 6. Denominator stays the same. 1 plus 3, 4. So remember, when we're adding, we're finding the sum. Don't forget that word. Number 7. In the problem on the previous page, what does the red fraction strip label 1 represent? Why aren't the purple 1/10 strips shown the same length as the red strip? So we're going to go back. And it's asking me, what does the 1 represent? Remember that when we're talking about fractions, the 1 represents the whole. Because fractions are part of a whole. That's what the 1 represents. The 1 is meaning the whole thing. Now, it also says, why aren't the purple 1/10 the same length as the red strip? So why isn't the purple the same as the red strip? Why are they not the same? Now notice that on the question, it was talking about the silver canoes, and it was also talking about the brown, which are the ones that are here. The silver, and then 2 out of 10, we're going to be brown. But notice that on my actual whole, this is my whole, this is the red part, the whole thing. There's also green canoes that are not mentioned there. If you notice, there's 3 more green canoes. So why is the purple not the same as the red? Because there's not only just purple and brown. Remember, these right here represented 5 were silver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are silver. And then these 2 were going to be the brown. But we're still lacking the green. So since we're still missing part of the whole thing, that's why the purple is not the same as the red. Remember that the red means the whole thing. Question number 8. What 2 fractions are being added below? What is the sum? So what 2 fractions are being added below? Remember, when we're adding, we need the 2 addends. So we're adding 2 numbers here, 2 fractions. This is my first fraction. My denominator stays the same. What is going to be my numerator? 1 plus 1 is 2. What am I adding? Denominator is 8. How many parts do you have? 3. The question says, what is the sum? Sum means to add. Denominator stays the same. 2 plus 3 is 5. We're going to go ahead and continue at the bottom. Level practice. In 9 to 23, use objects such as fraction strips to find each sum. Remember to simplify if possible. I'm not going to be using the fraction strips. You can if you need to, but the reason why I'm not is because we already cover adding fractions with like denominators in the class. So this should be a review for you. If you need to draw the fraction strips, by all means, you can. So I'm going to start with number 9. Denominator stays the same. 3 plus 4 is 7. So my sum is 7/12. Number 10, denominator stays the same. 4 plus 1 is 5. Now, this is my sum, but I can still make it smaller because 5 is half of 10. So my answer will be 1/2. Number 11, denominators stays the same. 4 plus 2 is 6. Notice here, 6 is half of 12. So I'm going to make it smaller. 6/12 means half. Number 12, denominator stays the same. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. When the number at the top and the number at the bottom are the same, that means 1 whole. Denominator stays the same. 4 plus 3 is 7. Denominator stays the same. 4 plus 2 is 6. Number 15, denominator stays the same. 5 plus 1 is 6. Number 16, denominator stays the same. 3 plus 1 is 4. When the number at the top and the number at the bottom are the same, that means 1 whole. Number 17, denominator stays the same. So I have 12. 7 plus 2 is 9. 4 plus 4 is, 4 plus 4, you see? Ms. Garcia was making a mistake. When we're adding, we do not add the denominator. The denominator stays the same. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is half of 4, so it becomes 1/2. Number 19, denominator stays the same. 2 plus 3 is 6. Number 20, denominator stays the same. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 1 is 4. Number 21, denominator stays the same. 4 plus 1 is 5. Number 22, denominator stays the same. 2 plus 1 is 3. Remember, when the numerator and the denominator are the same, that makes 1 whole. Number 23, denominator stays the same. 1 plus 5 is 6, and 1 is 8. Wait, did I do it correctly? 5, 6, 7. Sorry, no, it's not 8, it's 7. I'm going to go ahead and turn now to page 560. Now I'm going to do number 24. Represent. What addition problem is shown by the fraction strips? Write the answer in simplest form. So I know that I'm adding two fractions. So I'm going to look at the strip diagram. The first fraction is already on the strip diagram. The denominator is 8. How many parts do you have? 3. What is the fraction you're trying to add? The denominator is 8. How many parts do you have? 3. So if I add these together, the denominator will stay the same. 3 plus 3 is 6. So my sum is 6/8. Number 25. Lindsay has 5 red hats, 2 blue hats, and 3 black hats. What fraction of Lindsay's hats are either red or black? Remember, this is just like the video. Either means I'm going to add red or black. Use fraction strips to help you solve the problem. Now, the first question is, Ms. Garcia, do I add the numbers? No, because they're asking me for fraction. So, Ms. Garcia, how do you find the denominator, the number that goes at the bottom? Remember, your denominator is going to be your total. How many hats do you have in all? 5 red plus 2 blue plus 3 black. How many in all? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in all, there is 10 hats. So my denominator will be 10. How many I'm looking for red or black? How many red did we have? 5. How many black did we have? 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8. So my fraction is 8/10. Number 26. Using 3 different numerators, write 3 fractions that have a sum of 1. A sum of 1. So I'm looking for a sum of 1. How do I find sum of 1? When the numerator and the denominator are the same, that is 1. So they want me to use 3 different numerators. Using 3 different numerators, write 3 fractions that have a sum of 1. So if I'm going to use 3 fractions to find the sum of 1, remember sum of 1, what numerators can I use that will give me 1? Well, I'm going to go with a large number. Instead of saying 5, I could do 6 over 6, 7 over 7, 8 over 8. For me, I'm going to use 7 out of 7, but you can use any of those. So my 1 will be 7 out of 7. So I already know that the denominator will be the same. Now I need to add using 3 different numerators. That means that I need to break the 7 apart. So I'm going to say 4 plus what gives me 7? Plus 2 plus 1. Why? Because 4 plus 2 is 6. Plus 1 equals 2, 7. Did you notice that my numerators are different? You had to use 3 numerators that were different. You could have also done 2 equal to 1. You could have done 6. To give you 1. Using the fraction, you have to have the same denominator. And now you need to add to 6, but the numbers need to be different. So I could add 3 plus 2 plus 1. Because 3 plus 2 is 5 and 1 is 6. Number 27. Represent. A rope is divided into 8 equal parts. Draw a picture to show that 1/8 plus 3/8 equals 4/8 or 1/2. So they want me to draw a picture to show this. So I'm going to go ahead and start by doing first my 1 whole, because we're talking about fractions. How many eighths do you have? 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch 1/8. Remember that they want me to add 3/8. So that would be 1, 2, 3. Now remember, since I'm adding, I do not have them there. I need to add them. So I'm going to do my little arrow. And I'm going to add the 3 out of 8s. Sorry, I put 3 out of 8 and it's supposed to be 1/8 because I need to add 3/8. So it's 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. Now, what am I doing right here? I'm trying to do this just like my example on number 24. This is what I have, 1/8. I need to add 3/8. So that means that I'm bringing it up. 3/8 plus 1/8 is 1/8. 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 3/8 plus 1/8 is 1/ Number 28, a bakery sells an average of 9 dozen bagels per day. 9 dozen. And that word I told you, they're going to trick you in the start. Dozen means 12. So they have 9 dozens. 9, 12 totals per day. How many bagels does the bakery sell in a typical week? A week has 7 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They sell 9 dozen per day. Per means each. So how many bagels does the bakery sell in a typical week? I am looking for my total. I don't know my total. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for the total bagels. Now notice that each day they sell an average of 9 dozen bagels. So there's going to be 2 steps. I need to figure out how many bagels do they sell in one day. In one day, it says that they sell 9 dozen times 12. Why times 12? Because they sell 9 dozens. 9, 12 sets. Because dozen has 12. So I'm going to multiply 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 1 is 9. And 1 more is 10. So in one day, they sell 108 bagels. But they want to know how many would they sell in 1 week. So I need to make sure that we're multiplying now again times 7. Because this is day 1. And they want me to find 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So to find the total, since the number is repeating, I'm going to take 108 multiply times 7 days. Multiply up, 7 times 8 is going to be 56. 7 times 0 is 0. Plus 5 would be 5. 7 times 1 is 7. So how many bagels? Not donuts, sorry. How many bagels? It would be 756 bagels. That would be my total. Notice that we had to do 2 steps because of this distractor, the dozen. Number 29, Jackson said, I am thinking of 2 fractions that have a sum of 1. Sum of 1. Sum of 1. Which fractions was he thinking about? So I'm looking for sum means to add. Which one gives me 1? So I'm going to start with letter A. 3 plus 2. First of all, the denominators are not the same. I cannot even add them. Letter B. Denominators are the same. So they stay the same. 1 plus 3 is 4. Remember, when the numerator and the denominator are the same, that means 1. So maybe. Letter C. Denominator stays the same. 2 plus 4 is 6. Are the denominator and numerators the same? No, this is actually an improper fraction because my big brother's on top of my little brother. So I'm going to eliminate it. Letter D. Denominator stays the same. 4 plus 3 is 7. Notice that the numbers are not the same. So it does not equal 1. So my answer would be B. Number 30. Terry ran 1/10 of the distance from school to home. Then he walked 3/10 more of the distance and then skipped 2/10 more of a distance. What fraction of the distance home did Terry still has to go? Still. still means the rest. When we have the rest, we're going to have to subtract. So let's go ahead and think. Terry runs 110. I'm going to add how much she walked, 3/10. And I'm going to add how much she skipped, 2/10. How much has she already walked, ran, and skipped? Sorry, it was not 1/2, it was 1/10. Sorry. So it's going to be 1/10. So I'm going to look at the denominator. The denominator stays the same. 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 1 is 6. But that's not the question. They didn't ask me for the sum. They want to know how much more does she need to go to get to her house. Well, you're thinking, Miss, I don't have any other fractions. I cannot subtract anything. Yes, you can. Look at your denominator. What is your denominator? 10. Now remember that denominator tells you how many total parts did you have in your whole. So my whole thing is 10. My whole thing is 10. Now notice that I'm putting a 10 at the top. Why? Because if I have to walk, my whole thing is 10, right? How many parts do you have in all? 10. I hope I'm not confusing you with this one. In this one, you had to think about the actual fraction. The denominator always tells you how many parts are in your whole. So how many parts are in my whole? 10. So if I have not used anything and I want the whole thing, my numerator needs to be 10. But then she walked, she ran, and she skipped. How much did she walk, ran, and skip? Minus 610, because the 610 represents how much she walked, ran, and skipped. So how much more does she still need to finish to get to her total, which was the 10 parts? The denominator will stay the same. 10 minus 6 means 4. So my fraction that she still needs to get home will be 4/10. Boys and girls, if you turn the page now, we're going to go into the homework 11-1. You are responsible for 1 through 12. And if you turn to the back for number 13 to number 19. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be waiting to see if you need me to make another video to explain anything from